क्या जाएगा वो का लिस्ट दूसरे फोन पे खोलने क्या?
हाँ मैं मेरे में डाल देता
ये ले
व्हाट्सएप पे
टेस्ट भी कर ले
फोटो
बट ऑडियो। हाँ हाँ फोटो ले ले यार इसकी 18 days इन मैरियोपोल से चालू कर।
छोड़ेगा नहीं ना तू भी तो।
अब तो ऑफकोर्स नहीं छोड़ूंगा। बताना नहीं चाहिए था ना आर्यन को। नाइसली बोल देना चाहिए था हाँ हाँ बहुत अच्छी थी पूरे 20 में क्या पूरे 20 दिन बहुत सही थे।
20 दिन
मैं मुझे लगा
अपने बनाना पड़ेगा 10 days at मामी
यूक्रेनियन वॉर से कंपेयर करेंगे अपना। ये बवाल वाला सीन हो जाएगा।
बवाल 2
फॉल्टी कंपैरिजंस वाला जो भी होता है
बवाल 2
वो भाई ऑडियो टेस्ट भी। हाँ आप लोग कॉफी अपनी है इसमें या नहीं है? पानी डालने इसमें
बहुत स्ट्रांग है आज तो पूरा इतना
प्रिसिला के लिए।
भाई मैं 1 घंटा रिजर्व लाइन में खड़ा रहा हूँ।
हम सब भी ऐसी आज मैं भी वही कर रहा था सर।
Joram reserve line 2
You
hours.
got into in the second. You said you started going in by the second hour, like 2 hours before the show started. I thought.
हाँ तो we start like 5:30 पे लाइन लगना स्टार्ट हो गया 7:30 शो के लिए
Okay.
एंड भरा हुआ था।
Let me see. Yeah.
ओके तू कर मॉडरेट ना।
I thought you were doing the intro गुजराती में।
कयो करो
हाँ कर
नहीं ढूंढो और कोई इंट्रो
एक
ढूंढो।
सेकंड गुजराती में बोलूं मतलब
हाँ और क्या।
फॉर गुजराती ऑडियंसेस
मैं गुजराती ऑडियंस कितने मैं ही हूँ
Dad,
खुद के लिए।
your dad.
हाँ
हाँ।
मेरा डैड लिसन
भेजना ऐसा।
और क्या मैं अपने गुजराती दोस्तों को भेज दूंगा बोलूंगा आपके लिए स्पेशल एपिसोड रिकॉर्ड किया है हम लोगों ने।
उनके लिए स्पेशल होता भी है कुछ ऐसा।
ये कुछ नहीं होता क्यों भी नवरात्रि और ये सब आपका ये रिएक्शन जाएगा इसमें।
चलेगा जाने दो यार।
कैंसल्ड
डांडियों से मारेंगे।
हेलो वेलकम टू
ऐसे शर्मा क्या रहता है?
पॉडकास्ट।
जादू मंतर You are going into the future.
You talking to me?
They always be these clothing. என் பேர் மாணிக்கம். எனக்கு இன்னொரு பேர் இருக்கு.
Talking to me?
The queen is dead. Yeah.
अभी करूँ।
ये सब जा रहा है।
Hello. Welcome to the Queen is Dead podcast. Today, I have Sanjeet and Dhruv with me. Dhruv, who has recently been recovering from a very bad cold, for which he blames MAMI.
Rightfully so, right?
Yeah.
एवरीथिंग इज ऑन
I think, yeah.
उधर बम फटा वो भी मामी ने मैंने स्पेसिफाई नहीं किया कहाँ पे।
Yes. Nice.
Yeah, so today we'll be talking about whatever we watched from day 4 to
3, 4, 5.
yeah, from days 3 to 5.
Yeah.
And it was only after day 3 and 4 that we finally started exploring some of the international releases, right?
Yeah,
Because I remember the first 3 days I was basically only watching some Indian premieres of these very
Ones which we could wake up for, essentially.
yeah, at least the ones that we were awake for barely. Yeah. And,
because you were very awake for the international ones.
yeah, because I saw 4 movies that day and I was on 3 hours of sleep and I did not sleep.
Yeah, I mean the 3 hours of sleep that you didn't have is clearly someone's fault, right?
Yeah, I mean clearly.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the day that we all of us watched 4 films.
We
right?
all of us were together, Sanjeet and Aryan.
So that's the motivation.
मुझे तबीयत खराब हो गई, right?
Yeah, right. So, but that's the motivation that we had that day. That's why we ended up watching 4 films, and all 4 of them were like
amazing.
Not let's not use that word anymore. But yeah,
they were pretty good, all of them. Actually.
yeah, and
I watched 3, so yeah, you guys whatever.
I think.
I mean, it was a typical day at a festival.
But we're mixing up or whatever, right?
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah.
List, sir, list. Where is the
it's on his
list?
phone.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't see his phone. No.
Okay, so day 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we basically just day 3 to 5 we saw these films and we'll just juggle the order based on whoever. It really doesn't make a difference. Like which.
What do you want to start with quickly?
The one you have in caps, Sanjeet.
Uh,
Your favorite film of the festival, it seems, by the caps.
no, I just put it because it starts with an E. That's
Okay, and you spelt it also wrong. Everybody loves Sohrab Handa.
So
that's the
Sohrab is like
autocorrect.
that. अच्छा, okay, fine. So ये बता दो पहले की picture है क्या?
Okay, so talking about Everybody Loves Sohrab Handa. Sohrab Handa is written and directed by Rajat Kapoor.
Who you got to talk to?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I got to see him when I was standing in the walk-in queue for 2 hours, and I was like,
That was for Perfect Days only, right?
yeah, but still, I was in the queue also.
That was the same.
That was the worst day for the festival for me. It was clearly not a perfect day.
When I was standing in that Sohrab Handa queue, no?
Yeah.
The line was massive.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, what is so special about the film that people are doing?
But Rajat Kapoor, as you said, that he has that niche in Mumbai. Right?
Definitely.
Mumbai, it'll be a niche of a niche. That's what I was telling Sanjeet. Like it'll be
Especially in
My
Mumbai.
parents are also big fans of Rajat Kapoor in general.
Okay.
Rajat
Because
Kapoor,
he's an
Vinay,
actor.
Pathak.
Yeah,
Rakesh
like
Tore.
that the whole crew.
Like I remember them loving
Bheja
Bheja Fry
Fry.
and all others. We went for Bheja Fry 2 in theaters also.
Which is terrible apparently.
Yeah.
He's not made.
Beja
He's
Fry,
not
there's
part of it.
there's a Beja Fry too.
Bheja Fry too.
He is part of it.
Rajat Kapoor.
Yeah.
I thought he's not. It's only Brenda Pathak, I thought.
No, I think he's
Okay.
also part of it. If I 2011 June something. I don't know.
Anyways, everybody loves
Sohrab Handa. So it's surprisingly it's a whodunit, which we had. At least I didn't have any idea about.
Neither did I.
Dhruv got to watch it before I did.
Yeah.
What did you think? And
I mean, firstly, this is a movie that's going to be releasing in
Theaters.
Feb, I think Jan or Feb. I don't think many people know or knew about it when I think the only thing what drew people at least in cinemas for the gala premiere is the what Sanjeet said about the Rajat Kapoor fan base and like whatever reputation he has cultivated and not maintained
Yeah.
in some ways.
not maintained is because I think after post Aankhon Dekhi he did have that surge because I remember he did a lot of interviews post that,
Yeah.
so he was in people's screens.
Conscience.
Mulk also, he's very good in Mulk. I remember
He was in Mul.
He plays the Muslim. He plays the
The cop,
Muslim
the
cop who hates Muslims.
Oh, right.
doesn't he? But
No, he hates his own
He
community.
has
That's the
his-
whole thing about.
prejudice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he
like,
admits to. He wants to kill
Okay,
them, right?
okay.
That's the whole cleansing
Yeah.
thing he goes through.
Yes.
And Tapsi Pannu's character sort of like brings out that confession from him.
Mm.
Like I remember his role in that being very effective. Like that was.
No, I remember he was my favorite part of the film too. I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I think. Right. Anyways, everybody loves Sohrab Handa. I quite like,
Mhm.
and I quite like it. And we'll of course not spoil any of
No
no
spoilers.
spoilers of the
Yeah.
planet element and everything. I think I had written briefly about in my notes at least was that this is the type of film which works better as an art house film than a genre film.
You think so?
Yeah, like as in it's a better character driven whatever thingy rather than a whodunit, which I
But
think
even Knives Out is very character driven, no?
no, I mean it is, but like its basis is still the mystery.
Yeah.
It's so artifice heavy that it's hard to not compare it to a Cluedo board, which of course characters in the film also do. Here it's much more grounded. I think it's closer to something like a Death in the Gunge than something like Knives Out even.
And I was standing in the queue for the walk-in queue for like 2 hours almost that day while Dhruv was inside watching the film. And immediately after the screening,
sound like guilty or something.
yeah, it should be. Immediately after the screening, I was like outside. I was just hanging around, and I was hoping that the film might not be too good or something. And I called Dhruv, and he's like, he liked it a lot. It's basically like a redux of A Death in the Gunge, and I'm like, That's
Reed,
one of my.
He doesn't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I love other than the country. I was like, oh my god.
No, but my thing is,
Yeah.
my thing is about this. Basically, the character of Sohrab Handa, I
Okay.
think, is a variation
Hmm.
in some ways of Shutu or from that.
Yeah.
It's a big variation, but it is something linked in some way
Yeah.
to that universe that I made a connection.
Okay.
Sanjeet didn't, but we'll discuss about that.
Hmm.
But I think the big reason why I like it, and the film has, I think, plenty flaws. Technically, I think I definitely have issues with the way it goes from the present to the past and how it juggles. I think it's overscored in many
Okay.
places also.
Mhm.
But
Did it feel like a final cut?
It is a
it is a final
It is a
cut.
final cut.
I think it also the censorship of like the language is something that's a impediment to the film's effectiveness. I think this is the type of film which would benefit from being super abrasive and like brash in its language. I think it's the type of film that will definitely benefit from that treatment. Anyways, my big thing is I am very glad that someone is centering a film on this type of a character.
Okay.
It is a genuinely unlikable character
Okay.
Mhm.
played in that perfect pitch by Vinay Pathak.
Yeah, he's
He's
Brilliant.
phenomenal. He's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sort of star attraction for this, I feel.
yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think he like walks away with it pretty comfortably.
Yeah, convincing.
Yeah, I think it's just like there's that whole nowadays the idea of like that sanitized character being the center of your film or whatever it is. And I feel in this it's just so the viciousness of that character, like the way he speaks sometimes, the way he wants to almost hurt people and wants people to hurt him is something which I really thought was I mean I can imagine others in that situation who try and do that. And that's the sort of way sometimes people cope with a lot of things, whatever they have gone through in their lives. So I thought there was a genuine like honesty to get at something with that character and how so I think that element works much more for me. The who done it is the wonky part, which I think Sanjeet and me agree on.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think I really liked the film. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. I had a good time watching the film. I think whodunits are not just whodunits anymore in this contemporary era.
Yeah.
They need to be something else. Like Knives Out,
Yeah.
in my opinion, was about the whole journey
Yeah.
to reach the end.
Yeah.
But except like you don't need to relish the end to enjoy
Of course.
anything else.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to that. In the sense that you really need to enjoy hanging around with these characters to know what kind of a person X is, what kind of a person Y is, what and there's this puzzle thing which is happening, kind of putting pieces into places. What person X had a motive, what Y had a motive for someone's murder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that way it's very fun. I don't think so it's his best. I don't think so it's even possibly his top 3, I would say. But it's still great.
Yeah.
I feel, and I'm just beating around the bush now because I cannot just specifically talk
Yeah.
about it. There are a few decisions in the film which for me tonally didn't work, because I was like, it has gone into a territory which I didn't expect.
Yeah.
But it's not about my expectations with the film. It's more about his cinema also, and the kind of characters that usually are on screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Because the essence of the characters are very similar to what he has done previously also.
Yeah.
So it kind of doesn't make sense for me where it eventually ends up.
Yeah.
And I feel as good as like some of the themes in his films are, like identity and certain other things, his endings are something to always look out for. They are very, very special, all of them
Except this.
And I was very this is the one outlier.
Yeah.
I feel. And I don't know if he
Even
repeated.
RK had a very enticing ending.
Yeah, very, very good ending. I really liked it. Like I after finishing, I revisited.
I think is whatever.
Yeah, it's
amazing ending.
finest ending. Yeah.
Finest movie only, I feel.
Yeah, his finest written film as well. So I still think he's a great writer. Whatever.
I will caveat that by saying it's a little overwritten in some sequence.
Also, the underscored thing, I didn't feel it so much,
Overscored.
but overscored. I just thought maybe some places it could have been less, but
Yeah.
otherwise I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
The kind of film I'd like to go with my parents to watch. It's good.
Yeah, big go for all the meanness
Yeah.
inherent in a family, and
Yeah. Reflect.
let's
Be like,
let's
oh,
fight like this.
relatable. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on.
20 days.
No, Aryan, correct title. Correct title.
Okay, so it's 18 days in Mariupol.
Yeah.
For reasons undisclosed.
No,
Disclose.
You watched it too, right, Mariupol?
No, I didn't.
You did watch all of them.
Yeah.
We were
He
went to
was
go that
sweet
day. No,
on
we
it.
slept through.
I thought you maybe
everyone.
got it the next day. No,
No.
Go ahead.
So yeah, it has that written all over it Oscar buzzy feel. Even
What a
even though,
documentary.
yeah, it's a documentary
About the Ukrainian.
Ukraine war, and it's basically the documentation of the first 20 days of the Russia-Ukraine war from Mariupol, which was one of the major cities that was
Affected by it.
that was under Russia's military occupation.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever.
So it basically starts off in a very structurally coherent way. So it basically goes from day 1, day 2, day 3, whatever till day
4,
20.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
Yeah.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
18.
18. Full
Yeah.
stop.
So yeah, the film, I think it's
Film was
technically
missing after that. Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Yeah.
I just uploaded and then
Blacked out.
blacked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I didn't sleep that night, and I may have dozed off during the last chapter of that film, and yeah. Which is like I got the point, I know, but yeah, basically it's a very important film because it not only it brings to
Sorry.
yeah, whatever. So it not only watching it right now in 2023, it doesn't only click with a very I'm very sleepy. मैं बहुत ही zoned out हो गई. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Sanjeet is editing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remove any of this.
No, ये cut करो. बाद में I'll start now. 20 days in Mariupol. Yeah. So basically, even though that we have seen these these events in the news cycle through the past 2 years, even watching it on the big screen when it's told through a single perspective, and you know that these people the guy who shot this entire documentary was there during these
That's
first
the
20
director?
days. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's told from this guy's perspective while he's documenting hospitals, maternity homes, and
Got it.
all other civilian places, residential places in
Yeah.
Mariupol during the first 20 days of the of Russia's invasion in Ukraine, which started on 23rd of February.
Mm.
So it documents the first 20 days of the war.
Yeah.
And it pretty much sets up the scale and especially in how Russia was actively trying to, get rid of whatever narratives that were coming out of the West by discrediting all of the facts by just saying that this is just Western propaganda.
Yeah.
And we see those actual footage being shot by this guy, like some of those videos that we guys saw of the maternity hospitals being
Yeah.
bombed during the war. We come to know while watching this documentary that it was this was the guy who shot these videos and sent it to these news platforms and news publication houses, media houses, and that's how they got out there.
Okay.
And so it's even though there's obviously the recency bias that makes you
This is
Yeah.
I was just saying this is the type of film in which the whole thing about you have to pay attention also to how it's made.
Exactly.
Goes out of the window.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's very hard to make for me also to make that argument, right? Because I'm like, इसमें मैं क्या बोलूं? Like it's short.
And because it is consistent with its style, with it is
Yeah,
consistent
like I was
with its
about to ask,
structure.
is it like does it feel too like simply
No, no, no.
narrativized or anything?
Actually, as I said that it literally uses footages.
Recontextualizes.
Yeah, it recontextualizes a lot of things because we come to know that it was actually this guy who shot this entire documentary who was the person.
Sorry.
It was this guy who sent out all those videos while he was boots on ground on the affected war zone site during that time. So it recontextualizes a lot of these things, and obviously you're prone to respond to it more strongly, emotionally speaking, because you know that this is very recent
Yeah.
and it's affecting the entire world, and especially knowing what has happened since those first 20 days, and how the geopolitical
Idea,
status
status,
quo,
yeah.
of how the world has shifted into this greater abyss since 2022. And yeah, it definitely has that Oscar buzzy thing to it, and I
वो तो automatically
definitely,
होगा ना, like,
yeah,
opinion.
and obviously there are reasons
Didn't
behind
someone
that,
also
but
went last time with
Navalny, yeah.
Yeah, but that was badly, like genuinely badly.
That was a proper CNN
It
documentary,
was like, but I think with something like that, I'm less forgiving
yeah,
about the formal thing, because it's not being slopped in from like a legit war and being like,
exactly,
put there.
yeah.
In that you put like bad music and arranged your film according to
But
that.
that was like, for me,
Navalny.
Navalny worked because it was a very proper networky documentary, because it was
Well, I
produced by
don't know.
CNN.
I was like, why don't you
What is that
like
cinema?
Laura
But
Poitras
then
का
that's the
Citizen
kind
Kane
of
watch.
that's the kind of shit that the Academy is willing to push right now, right? So I expected. I
Agenda.
watched Navalny, yeah, not just the agenda, but the lobbying thing behind it and what it means for the state of the world.
What versus why, or like how
Yeah.
it's made. Right, that no, but my
Also the urgency, I feel.
but urgency, I don't think. I mean, for me, I don't value it
Yeah.
in terms of if you just put an urgent topic and reiterate the basics of that urgent topic, तो क्या है उसमें document करने का? I'm like, वो तो आपको newspaper article पढ़ने से मिल जाएगा, right?
That's true. That's true.
No, but my problem with Navalny was that it feels very badly produced in the
Okay.
sense of just the way it's communicating the paranoia, or like even those things I thought were very basic / sloppy. And I've
Yeah.
seen, my reference point is Laura Poitras only from Citizen 4,
Mhm.
who does this with the Snowden thing, and she creates an absolutely palm sweating,
Yeah.
tension filled documentary out of that
Mhm.
event. So I feel you can wrestle with these things in a way which is more productive than just slapping together your footage and then laying over music. And then this is not just limited to Navalny, by the way. Like
In
the way-
general, you're saying.
general, a lot of
But
films.
this one, how there's been a lot of discourse around how our
And
generation.
we'll be expanding upon all this also when we talk about a couple of
Emergency,
documentaries.
Definitely. So the thing is that how people talk about how in our world in today's times people have this glorified notion about how they perceive war on social media. But as I said, the documentary, because it is recontextualizing so many things and putting it in such a structured and chronological way, you actually feel that that pounding energy of how bad and how difficult those days
Of
were
course.
for the civilians.
You have to, like, if you're making, unless of course you're going full experimental and not like, narrativizing it,
Yeah.
like the whole 20 days ki jagah, you're just like, because I'm pretty sure some documentaries do that where they just like throw you in the middle and then you're
Yeah.
like, almost creating that sense of chaos
Yeah.
where you don't understand anything.
Hmm.
But no, narrativization is not what I have an issue with. I have an issue with just like, you can't be sloppy with your filmmaking. And just a minor note, I'm not going to mention who or what, but I had seen, I've told you this, saw a video on Instagram which had said that this is a great film because it represents the truth.
Which one?
I'm not going to mention who it was.
There's a certain page.
Yeah.
Which film though?
Mariupol.
Okay.
And I was like, just to clarify, a documentary is not equal to the truth.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
It is a point of view. It
Yeah.
is so I mean, I know the page has a fair amount of reach, and I
Yeah.
don't know how many people from that
Hmm.
interact with us, but I do want to make it very clear that please do
No.
not
Yeah,
equate
that's what I was
documentary
thinking
to
actually,
truth.
because
We've
this,
discussed about this before also. Like,
Every
No,
film
because
has a
even
point of
if
view.
there is a cut, that means it's never the truth.
exactly,
The distance camera ka, where it is put, everything is decided.
Yeah.
because even with this documentary, it is, I know, I get the point of it and I know how it needs to be highlighted.
Yeah.
But this documentary actively goes on to show off what the Russian news networks, government owned, government funded channels, whatever,
Yeah.
what they were showing. But it is already providing you with that context early on. Well, it's actually showing you the footage
Yeah.
of what Russia had done supposedly or whatever, and then contradicting it by showing this propaganda reels of how the journalists over there were covering
Sure.
and showing it to the Russian citizens, whatever.
Sure.
Okay.
So it's very, because it is so engrossing, and because we know, we have this recent knowledge, we have seen these videos on YouTube, on Instagram, and whatever. We know how when you see it recontextualized in this way, you feel the urgency, and
Yeah.
you know that, oh my god, this is the kind of, it is quite literally documenting
Yeah.
war, where while
Face
it's
to face,
happening,
sort of
while
like
it's
that. Nah, yeah,
while it's breaking out. And this reminds me, the documentary starts with this quote or something where the narrator says that once I heard someone tell me that most wars don't start with a bang. They don't start
Yeah.
off as being loud,
Hmm.
but with the unnerving silence.
Yeah.
And just the way the documentary puts you in that space,
Mm.
and then almost every chapter, each day starts with a bang, literally an explosion going off in the background.
Yeah.
And I could literally feel the audience getting uncomfortable because
Yeah.
there's a lot of graphic disturbing imagery in there.
One more question was, how does it end?
With me applauding in the seat and then leaving the theater.
I was
You know how it
explaining
ends.
myself.
Yeah,
Next.
explain all right. Yeah. So next we watched
20 days at Mariupol explained.
explained.
The Beast.
Yeah, the Beast.
That you write and explain. Now.
I
Chalo.
try to.
What do you think about The Beast?
By Bertrand Bonello, who's a French director,
Hmm.
who's made
Starring Lea Seydoux
and
and
George McKay,
George McKay,
1970.
1970 guy.
Lea Seydoux, I think everyone knows.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Beast is by Bertrand Bonello, who's made a bunch of art house projects. I think he has a very niche following. Like I'm surprised how I guess Lea Seydoux has the power to pull a lot of our.
I'm pretty sure
audiences.
she's a star here.
Yeah, here now. So I think she's the sort of star attraction for a lot of people, I suppose, when they are going to watch The Beast every day. I think it's been full every day, quote unquote full. Up में थोड़े से seats थे, but like not much. So and The Beast is adapted from a book by Henry James, I think, who wrote it in 1993 or something like that.
1902, I think.
Yeah, and it's a book about.
This is pretty crazy considering.
Yeah, and he, of course, this is what you call like book adaptation and updating it in a very fruitful manner. But I think Henry James wrote it. I read this before watching The Beast, so I think that people can.
Nice.
No, I didn't read the book. I read the line where it was supposed, where he was like, it was written that the Beast was something that came out of him out of a sheer sense of loneliness.
Yeah.
It's the point where his solitude turned into loneliness. Almost. So it was about his inability to commit to relationships in a way where you can create meaningful connections from it or anything like that.
That is very much the theme of the
Which is the theme of the film. I mean, if anyone's interested in, I feel going in knowing that might actually benefit.
Because I had no idea what we were going to watch. So I was taken a little back when it did cut from a certain point to a certain point.
Yes.
And
No,
I was
but
like,
I didn't know about the timeline stuff. So I just knew about
it gives you a little bit of
bit
thought,
in,
right?
yes.
Yeah. And I had no idea what it was.
But yeah, it's split into 3 timelines and it's sort of very freely, I want to say, moving between these 3 in a way where sometimes you can almost confuse some of them. And I think this is the one film, along with, I guess, another Argentinian one, which are the only 2 films really in the festival which I've been thinking about actively after having watched them. While I was watching The Beast, I was less moved by it than I expected, because I think when I read the theme, I was like, well, this is going to be destruction for me, because films like these about something like a tragic romance or doomed romances, which we've covered so many times in our podcast, sort of have an impact on me. So I was like, expecting kind of to be devastated. I wasn't, and I was a bit disappointed about that.
I think that's the only
Emotionally.
bit,
Yeah, but it was so, for me at least, invigorating on like a formal and filmmaking level, that I was very much keyed into at least those aspects. So I think you guys had an issue with the stuff said in the Victorian era, which is basically Age of Innocence for me, kind of like that. Huh?
Age of Innocence Redux.
Redux. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't like Age of Innocence that
I
much.
love Age of Innocence. It's one of the few period pieces I love.
Okay.
Period romances that I
Okay,
love.
okay. Yeah, no, it's nowhere near, it doesn't have the
Yeah.
longing of Age of Innocence,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it has
Mhm.
the same sentiment essentially. But yes,
And even some of the shots.
yeah, some of the
Yeah.
scenes actually seem to recall it very much.
Yeah.
And then it sort of shifts into a very futurist
Yeah.
version, which is a bit of 2001, a bit of a lot of AI. I
Yeah.
think AI also by Steven Spielberg
Hmm.
and other things. And
Mhm.
then there is the bit where it becomes a Lynch film and a
Yeah.
De Palma movie and a Hitchcockian movie or whatever.
Yeah.
The point is one of the few things
Yeah.
that's so fascinating about a film like this to be is that it's so undefinable. It's so willing to move,
Move around and just
shift into like
also
different
put you into
forms and
spaces where
places.
you're also feeling
Yeah.
different
It's
feelings.
that whole beast. Like the opening scene, I think is terrific. Like it sort of
Oh,
comes up a
it's
lot
the
of
green
The
screen.
green screen. Yeah.
And
know,
it's also not to, I mean, it's literally the first scene of the movie, but
Yeah.
it also, from the get-go, puts out this theme that through this story,
Yeah.
we're also, the filmmaker, he's also commenting on how
Evolution.
indifferent we have become
Yes.
to shooting films in general. The
Yes,
act
yes.
of filmmaking in itself has become so detached from
Reality.
reality, quite literally, right? Because
Yeah.
it's just the green screen in
Green
the
screen.
background and we are just figuring out
Yes.
what she's doing. And I could imagine why a lot of the contemporary superhero films don't work
Yeah.
in that
Mhm.
regard. But yeah, whatever. So I genuinely think this might be the most thematically
It is packed.
packed
It's packed.
film
Yeah,
of the year for me.
thematically, formally, even I mean, there's
Yeah.
shift stylistic switches in this. I think are like fantastic. Like even
Mm.
narrative wise,
Yeah.
the way he's like moving between how many like the way he shoots each of these periods is so wildly
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was like,
I mean, but it had to be so that you
no,
can
no,
make
it
out
had
the
to be,
difference.
but
Right?
like you can he like commits it to the level where I was like, I was
And
enjoying how
even-
much he's committed to making them different, right?
what came along with that commitment was the conviction and the sensibilities of each generation and
Yeah.
each era translated so well.
Yeah.
Because we talked
Yeah.
about how the last chapter of the film had a lot of those forced reform, Paul Schrader undercurrents with the male
Oh yes,
protagonist.
Mhm.
which also has like a totally different camera mode and like
Exactly,
you have like
yeah.
all those touches. Like
Yeah.
even when because in the
And
sort
that's
of
when you know that
contemporary
how
world.
technology in itself has played this role throughout human evolution.
Yeah.
You see that at play even in the filmmaking.
I'm pretty sure
in
that's
the-
a very much something of a his addition,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean Henry
Yeah.
James wasn't writing about sort of
Yeah, exactly.
these specifics about.
I think
AI
that's
and
precisely why I think that it's these kind of adaptations, sci-fi adaptations to be more precise, that are my thing, That's why even though I did not love the movie when we watched it after it finished, I have constantly been thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the kind of film that I would want to go home and watch immediately to know how I'm just surprised that it didn't move me emotionally in
Same.
that regard, because
I mean,
it
it's
is
very little distant because
I think it is
I think
But
that's
deliberately
going
cold.
for devastation, huh?
Yeah.
but I also think it's probably because
Of the chemistry.
no, the chemistry, of course, but I feel
I-
because it's also switching so quickly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're never able to kind of work
Yes.
yourself into that
Makes sense.
narrative.
I
Again,
think
formally
knowing-
brilliant, but-
knowing it might actually help it on
Might
an
help,
emotional
of
level.
course.
Yeah.
I think on a rewatch for any of us, it might be a little different.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
one of the segments to 100%. I think that this film, I won't spoil, of course, has one of the tensest segments I've seen.
Oh,
in a while.
yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah,
after the
like
film
this
ended.
build up, slow
Yeah.
build up, and the sort of
Hmm.
gradual.
And even the filmmaking, I think it's magnificent. It's fantastic. क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
magnificent, fantastic,
Amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. I think it's
Stupendous.
it is brilliantly
Brilliant.
edited. It is brilliantly edited.
Fabulous.
I genuinely think it is fabulous. It is brilliantly edited because
Yes.
when you look at some of the short transitions, then we talked about that scene, including a fire that breaks out, which was, I think,
Fire,
I could,
the dolls.
yeah, I could
lot of
literally
footies.
feel Dhruv jottle while
Yes.
he was reading.
But
that
I
text.
always do like those noises do, but like
Yeah.
in that fire scene, it also was like feeling the
Yeah.
way, like the
Dhruv experienced similar jump scares while watching Beavis Afraid, right? Didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Very impressive.
Hmm.
I mean, this is I did not expect this comparison, but
I
whatever.
love that I already have more words read.
No, you've
more
not
message on-
seen Bo is Afraid.
I'm not, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I have a feeling that I may love it. So
that's why you've not seen it.
I'll take my time. I'll take my
Kamal hai
time.
yaar.
Shall take your time.
Huh.
Next.
Yeah,
The
let's
movie also does.
yeah.
Totem.
Totem, yes.
It was good.
Good, but very
Fine.
generic indie.
Ah, yeah,
film.
Aryan to slept.
If you
I
probably
didn't sleep. Fuck off.
but you've probably seen the
No,
Yeah.
but the treatment I told Aryan was that it was Sundancey, but not Sundance.
No, I feel you've already
wasn't
seen this kind of
quirky,
movie in
but-
abundance.
Yeah, you have.
So
I think this was
No, it's
Totem.
intimate, but it does feel personal, by the way. Like that.
Totem
it's
was
personal, of course.
Yeah.
But I feel my biggest issue with
Director's name, sorry, Carlos Avila. I think. Let's just check.
Yeah.
isn't it a lady?
No, lady. I forgot.
lady.
It's some
Leah, Liva,
Sorry, yes.
something like that.
The thing is that Lila.
Leela Aviles.
Aviles.
Leela. Avila,
Yeah.
yeah.
So basically,
Yes.
Totem was the kind of film that you would always watch at a film festival. It had all those tick marks, like
Personal.
check boxes,
Yeah.
yeah, and very
Handheld.
yeah. It is so it's nice,
No background score.
but yeah, and very and it's also very Sundancey. So obviously,
No,
was
it's
it
not
Sundance?
that Sundance.
It is very Sundance.
No, my experience with Sundance includes like that Marcel with whatever. That the quirk in that movie will give me like it gave my jaw like a freaking ache for like at least a week. I was like, who does that much quirk, man? Like anyways,
Karan Johar.
quirk नहीं करता वो.
वो तो twerks डालता है.
I'm
Oh
joking.
God, this is not the best time to record, you guys. I'm telling you.
I mean, अब तो कब ढूंढेंगे आप किसी टाइम? आप perfect days में जाते
Appointment
जाते
आपकी मिलेगी,
पूछेंगे.
sir?
Perfect days में जाते.
बगल में जाके.
Perfect days में. बहुत time है.
Okay.
2-3 घंटा.
Totem. So yeah, I think decent movie you can watch if you want to, but you've
Yeah.
probably seen this movie.
You
Wow.
can like every second, third movie on movies like Totem.
It is similar.
I just didn't like how it didn't continue with the perspective of
Exactly,
Of the
exactly.
child.
Of the girl. Of the-
because I think when it was with that perspective, it was very interesting because
yeah.
you're also kind of discovering things with her.
Of course.
Along with her.
And it's a lot about the someone having more power over someone else's life
Exactly.
in many ways. All those
And-
things are just
And even
Nice,
if
yeah.
if the film would have stuck to the girl's perspective, I think the fact of her realizing, slowly discovering,
Yes.
realizing
yes
that
Suspenseful.
maybe this is not a celebration,
Yeah,
family
yeah.
get together thingy.
Very typical, very
Yeah.
tough
Yeah.
balancing act
Yeah,
of
I think-
celebration and
I
like.
know, it's like-
I
bit of
get
shared
it.
grief.
I think the
Yeah.
Shared
personal
grief, yeah.
thing. I think the personal aspect of the film, again, it's a fairly made film, but again, the personal aspect of the film kind of blinds the director, the filmmaker, of going overboard with these scenes that build up that give you a sense of community,
Mhm.
that give you a sense of culture, right?
Yeah.
Because when she does that, it sidelines the girl's perspective
Yeah.
that the story starts with,
And
and you're
same
just like,
complaint तो मेरी killers के साथ है.
but I understand that.
Yeah.
It is again very oversaturated with
Yeah.
all its perspectives that it's trying to hold.
Sanjeet is disappointed.
But yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Moving
Then
on.
next we have Fallen Leaves.
You
I
like
love
it?
Jim Jarmusch, so I
He's
obviously
got a
love
smart-
this film. Yeah. Go on.
It's 81 minutes.
Yeah.
Really
What's
liked
not
it.
to love?
Full fun, very dry humor, very sunny.
Very
Real time.
tight.
Dead,
Just
full on
like
deadpan.
just like its title.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for me, the best part about it was how even with like sparseness of
Exactly.
emotion
Yeah.
and
Emotion,
You know-
I don't think was sparse from whatever I remember.
no, I'm just
Like,
saying
it's not
it's not
expressed.
express. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like impressionistic, more internal,
Yeah.
and irrespective of accidents and so many other.
A lot of coincidences,
Coincidences.
quote unquote contrivances.
You can-
Yeah.
It's still about that connection between the two
Yeah.
leads. Yeah.
I was more into.
So-
I'll be honest. I was much more into. At least I will rewatch this because I was essentially.
Sick.
Not
I
feeling
was
good.
dying while watching this film. Essentially.
You're dying as a
No, I was like, इसके बाद घर जाना है, उसमें 50 minutes लगेगा और फिर
You're like
खाना
so-
खाना है, भूख लग रही है, इतनी like 1,000 things were going on in my head.
and medicines.
Yeah,
But you
medicines
know,
and everything.
I
like
think
that. I was
even-
more into the female character.
Yeah.
So I think-
Yeah, for sure. I think
And a very innocent, like she has the
it was her story.
It was
though.
more
It
her.
was her story.
I think these are the kind of films that speak most to the kind of times we're living in, but
yes,
in a way that it's not nihilistic or pessimistic about
Yeah.
it, but
It doesn't specify the time.
exactly,
also, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's why it
Ukraine or
feels-
Russia ka war, to it is.
But
going
that
on.
is-
Yeah, but were they using mobile phones?
yeah.
But they
the
live in a
keypad
very,
ones.
it's a very like
So,
low
about that.
so like the economic condition
About
which
that,
is
about
is
that,
very
that's
bad.
exactly why I feel that this is the kind of film that the world needs right now. Okay, so basically it's a Swedish movie, right?
No,
Finnish.
Finnish movie, right? So Finland shares a border with Russia, I guess, right? Russia.
I don't know.
No, it's Scandinavian countries.
No, but it shares a
It shares a border with one of
Poland or
them,
something.
Russia, I think.
Yeah,
Finland
it shares a
is
border
little
with
that side. Yeah.
it shares a border with one of the NATO countries that
Yeah.
are close ally to Russia.
No, it was there because that's why there's so much of the whole
Yeah.
Ukraine Russia thing.
That was
That's
the
the thing.
entire
Nah,
paranoia about-
irrespective, whatever it's about relation, right?
Of course.
You
But
need to-
basically, once the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, the right-wing government in Sweden was like totally unabashedly supporting the war and all that shit. Okay, and it is a very working class film.
Working class will be lower, I feel.
Yeah,
Gig
it
to
is.
gig base almost.
Yeah. It is
Zero
very
some-
blue,
daily wages,
not even
yeah.
blue
Zero
collar.
some contracts
Yeah,
or something.
not
like
even
that.
blue collar. It's like and that's exactly why the leads in the characters in the film are never seen with a phone. They use notepads and pens to convey letters to each other.
Yeah.
And
Phone
to send
numbers.
back- yeah, to write phone numbers and to
Oh yeah, the chitti jo chali aati hai.
Again, it is full of contrivances, but it works so well. And I think
You know what the other director is reminded of?
Yeah.
Weirdly enough. Well, I don't think it's weird. Actually, I'm pretty sure he must be a fan of them. Robert Bresson.
yeah, Bresson, it had a lot of those over.
They speak about it.
There
in
is the La Argent ka
Yeah, poster in the background.
Daddy of a Country. Priest
Yes,
also.
yes, Daddy of a Country.
Right.
But even the shot taking, I was like, there's quite a bit of Bresson.
Okay.
Because it's so like.
And also the way it's lit, it's very hard lights which are kind of cut from the top. So it's just like
Yeah.
light slits
Like-
are there on the faces.
And
really hard.
There's this Bresson shot which I've been
Hmm.
fascinated by, where it's like, I don't know how to describe it properly, but it's
It's like,
like
the man
it's
escape
like
wala, right?
no, it's looking at the object is here, right? Like down on the if table is down, the object is on the table. The camera is looking on that object,
Okay.
but it's
Overhead.
static, top down, but it's like slanted,
Like an
at
overhead shot.
angle.
Yeah.
Like it's like at this angle, but the object is here. I'll show. I will maybe share a
Again,
picture.
I think it is reminiscent of a lot of shots from Coffee and Cigarettes.
Acha,
Right.
I've
Jam
seen very
Jim Jarmusch.
few Jim Jarmusch, so my reference points were more like some Wes Anderson, some Roy Anderson,
Yeah,
who's Swedish, I think,
yeah.
whose films are even drier and even
More deadpan than this.
more deadpan,
Surreal.
drier, surreal,
Okay.
whatever. He's a great director, but very acquired taste.
Okay.
And Aryan has taken out his phone, which means he's going to add all of his work.
No.
No.
Moving on to the next.
No, I was just wanted to say this another thing because it really blends into the next two films that I watched. Is that these are the kind of films that would always speak supremely to my emotions, and I would always be a sucker for these films that are observational, a bit surreal, but films that are always telling stories with the political, socio-political undercurrents back there in the subtext. They are so engrossed.
Text to nahi hai, sir.
No. I think it is in the
Text hi hai isme to.
हाँ, but it is still playing on the radio and it doesn't actively. It
मतलब
never.
आपके दिमाग को they're not assaulting.
Yeah, it's always in the background, right? It's it.
But that
literally-
really isn't subtext. Subtext is something which
Hmm.
एक hidden motive की बात हो गई. That is more subtext, right? But there's
But the thing, that's why the next two movies, I'm just talking in general. So whenever people, filmmakers tell these observational stories where you're just in this one place,
Hmm.
you're getting introduced to this
Hmm.
certain kind of, you're getting to know the way of living of these characters and you're with them.
Yeah.
And whatever socio-political undercurrents that are going on in the background, and it's not just particularly about this, particular to this film,
Hmm.
but in general, I am always a fan of these kind of films where the characters are never even when they're not directly affected by those socio-political realities of the place they're coming from, it's always informing their state.
Yes, of
Right,
course.
it is always redirecting their
Yeah.
trajectory in these very
Everything depends on it.
exactly in very
But it's done in a way which feels very organic rather than
exactly in a very somber way, right? And
yeah, the whole film is very cold, like in terms of the atmosphere, and I'm like, if the film references La Argent,
yeah,
it's very much about money.
yeah.
And I think money and like the lack of money and
Again,
everything
like,
is the
we know
more subtext to I feel more
Yeah.
anything like the La Argent ka, like how much if it is actually about money, I feel is that that's sort of the bigger thing that I was like more into, like because I was like this is gonna end horribly. They reference La Argent, which is ends has one of the most pessimistic endings ever.
But that's
So,
what
yeah.
again it foreshadows these things, and then it flips all those conventions, because it is quite literally a reminder that even when everything around you seems fucked up, that you are going through a recession looming over your heads, when you're barely able to pay for like for food, literally.
Surviving on she's so
Yeah.
expired food.
Exactly, and stealing them from wherever she's working at. And no matter how screwed up life may seem, you're always going to find reasons right. You're always going to find reasons worth living for,
Yeah.
and connections are always going to be
Chota
something that
Chota है इसलिए.
क्या ज़्यादा ही
optimistic
optimistic yeah, but
pessimism पे हो next क्या है?
next do yahi hai, isliye I've been
No,
talking about
tell the titles,
observational
no? Tell the
films.
title names.
So let's talk about. I'll just briefly talk about The Burden first, which is
Burden.
yeah,
By
The
who?
Burden. It's a Lebanese
Okay.
film which was shot by. I was surprised that it was the DOP of this film was. I told you,
But he shot,
Minal Desai.
but he shot other films also, like.
But I was surprised
Asian other
because
films.
throughout the film, whatever I just mentioned, that I've always been a sucker for these observational films that just place you in this certain community, in this certain area, and you are just following these characters, even when the story is not particularly hitting those dramatic highs that a conventional drama ideally would. Even when you're not getting those emotional highs, you're consistently engaged with the characters because the world feels so lived in, right? So that's what brings me to The Burden, a film that, again, the kind of film that you would watch at any film festival, but the kind of film that would stay with you because the characters and the world of it feel so enriched. And coming from, again, it has similar themes that Fallen Leaves has in its background, that it's about this Lebanese family during the 2015-2016 years of the civil war that broke out during those years, especially after Trump came and was elected in 2016. And it has those undercurrents in the background, and the life of our leads, of our protagonists, this family that we follow, their perspective. It's them going through a very personal thingy. I don't want to spoil this more, but they're so basically they are economically not stable. They are struggling economically, financially in life. They have 3 children, but now the wife is pregnant with the fourth child, and now they are struggling on how to come on terms with getting an abortion, whether to get it or not. And again, a lot of the religious subtext comes into that is it ethical, is it moral, and all. And once they do convince themselves that no, it's moral, actually you can do it before a certain number of days according to the Quran, according to Prophet Muhammad or whatever. So even then, in the end, after a few things happen, it's again a reminder that no matter how fucked up the country and the politics of the country that they are living in are, no matter how fucked up they are, this family will continue to do good. And it ends on this positive note, which is, I mean, people who come from a privileged place like us, it's easy to look at this film and the thing that we talked about whenever we talk about Farhadi, like Asghar Farhadi or even Panahi, right? That it's easy to sit at this place and say that, oh, these filmmakers are functioning in such a difficult space. These stories are very important. This is an important film. But no, it's genuinely a good film, right? And it is a reminder of how it's human connections and emotions that are going to keep us together even when everything falls apart. Which brings me to the third film that might be my festival favorite, because I don't know if this is this could be a meter to check that, but I did cry twice while watching this film, which is a Gujarati film called Kayo Kayo Colour, which is basically which color in English. And again, I think everyone should watch this film whenever it comes out anywhere, which I doubt it would.
Movie, I think.
I hope so.
It
I
looks
hope
like
so.
a movie kind
Yeah,
of.
look, because it's black and white.
And it doesn't.
The vibe.
Hmm.
There's Ahmedabad Ma Famous also one movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a very good film.
And it's directed by Shah Rukh Prasad. Shah Rukh
No,
Pandya or something.
No, Shah Rukh Chavan or Chawad. Chawad.
Okay.
You should know this is Gujju guy, yaar. What is this?
Shah Rukh I know, but yeah,
Shah Rukh I
sorry
know. Nice. Mila dete sir.
Yeah, so sorry to butcher the filmmaker's name, but yeah, it's a beautiful
Sure.
but very tragic story about it
Actually,
sticks
मुझे नहीं
to
जानना.
what? No, let's not spoil it. But again, it's the film that I talked about, the previous two films
Yeah.
that I mentioned and talked about. It's basically the same concept, but done, executed in a way that literally hits home for me.
Human resilience
Yeah.
/ human
Yeah. And
cost at
socio-political, so political apathy in face of
yes.
innocence and in face of survival,
Yes.
quite literally in this film.
Hmm.
Because yeah, and again it has one of those last shots that will haunt me for the rest of the year, and I think this is genuinely if I were to put this somewhere in the best Indian
You're
films of the
watching
year,
Perfect Days tomorrow, so you never know.
I hope that-
Indian films.
Indian films, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it might end up being one
Agra.
of my favorite Indian films. No, I'm not
Yeah,
interested in
possible.
watching that movie. I'm done.
Sad.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yes,
it's one of my favorite Indian films of the
Yes.
year. It might end up in the top
मैं
5.
absolute में कैसे बात करता है तू life में?
कर सकते हैं ना
Confidence,
अभी
sir, confidence.
recency bias है ना
हाँ.
ऑप्टिमिज्म भी है हाँ अभी 2 दिन पहले ही देखी है
हाँ, अब उसके बारे में बात करते हैं, इसमें कोई ऑप्टिमिज्म है ही नहीं.
Joram.
Yes.
Devashish Makhija's new film, Joram, starring Manoj Bajpayee,
Mohammad Zishan.
Mohammad Zishan Ayub, Smita Dwivedi. Who else is there?
The
Tanisha Chatterjee.
she also and
Rajshri Deshpande.
Yes, for half a scene.
I mean, not
Rajshri
really,
Deshpande.
there-
Less than half a
two
scene.
scenes.
Rashi Deshpande was in this film.
Trial by
Ah.
The
fire.
police who?
Trial by
Arey,
fire, sir.
No,
Yeah,
he's
but
asking
what
her-
role? What?
अरे she's
The wife.
Zishan Ayub's wife.
हाँ वो फोन पे जब वो बात करता है, वो
आयुष्मान
एक
खुराना
scene है।
में जो आर्टिकल 15 में वाइफ का रोल टाइप्स.
वो उसमें उसका वॉइस था
नहीं सर, मतलब
वो
वैसा
वैसा
रोल
scene,
यार
यार।
जो होता है कि वो कहीं और है.
चिंता हो रही है घर आ
But
जाओ
इसमें तो it's like very less of that all.
Hmm.
But like she is there.
उसमें तो कुछ और ही लेवल
She's
पे
there to be on Zoom.
या
और
बताइए sir, what do you think?
FaceTime. मुझसे क्यों पहले पूछ रहे हो? उसने तो ऐसे लिखा हुआ
वो
है.
मुझे पता है क्या बोलेगा. Socio-political.
one of the best
One of the best. Manoj Bajpayee best performance. मुझे पता है इसका क्या है.
but I genuinely think it might be one of my favorite. हाँ really
Sorry, sir, I'm joking.
अरे
बता,
मैं
बता.
ये तो recency bias भी नहीं है यार जैन में देखी थी
अच्छा बता. नहीं,
Nice
मार्च
flex,
में देखा.
हाँ, nice flex, हाँ.
फेब में देखा था
Fifth, third,
पर
something.
जैन एंड से स्क्रीनर था दिया नहीं
चल
था
बता.
Yeah, I love Joram. It's basically my favorite Makhija film, and one of the strongest climax in Indian
ये
film.
कौन आया?
Absolute. Aryan or absolutes? Aryan
Aryan or
absolute.
absolute.
हाँ.
Aryan or absolute. beat.
Absolutely Aryan.
But
talks
अभी-
film.
Absolutely Aryan talks films.
Aryan absolutely talks about films.
हाँ.
Aryan talks about
In
films.
extremes.
Absolutely.
कर लेते हैं active passive यहाँ पे. Yeah, whatever. So Joram,
That's the
really
first.
loved
That's the
it,
film.
and-
Sorry to interrupt, but that's the film that might actually be getting the release the quickest from whatever.
Earliest.
Uh,
Yeah. I think it's gonna come out first week of December.
yeah.
So he is really pushing for a theatrical release, which is a great thing for a
Yeah.
film like this to come out.
But don't you think that considering it's basically a genre film that it would do like
I was
20,
about to
30,
say.
40, 50 crores at
What?
least?
Huh? No.
Really?
40,
I mean, not
50
that, not if it comes.
If it does
I really
10 crores
get the
also,
way
I'll
to-
be like surprised.
Really?
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think अगर Animal के साथ release नहीं किया तो there's a good chance.
It's not releasing with
Not-
Animal.
I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying about the genre film, but it's
Yeah.
also
Irrespective.
very stripped down and very just
bleak. It is very bleak.
doesn't do genre film in a way which
No,
Yeah.
because his sensibility
Yeah.
is very reflects from reality.
exactly.
So he's looking at it from a lens of just putting us in
Yeah.
something which we try to refrain from looking.
yeah.
Just
So like I think I wrote when I watched Bhosle, at least I remember something along the lines that he makes you go down the gutter of
yeah.
like he doesn't.
Absolutely.
And I like that. Like we
even
need
I do.
we need filmmakers who
Hmm.
are
Yeah.
like very
Unhinged. Go there.
not unhinged,
Make
but
you
like
uncomfortable.
yeah, like why
Yeah.
not? मिलते ही कम है.
जाओ तो आगरा कल बैठो सॉफ्ट पॉर्न देखो थिएटर में
हार्ड पॉर्न कहा था उसने, सॉफ्ट पॉर्न नहीं कहा था.
हार्ड तो यार देखने को ही मिल रहा है, बड़ी बात है. हाँ.
कितनी बार बोला है
बड़े-
टिकट लेके चले जाओ.
अब कंटिन्यू करना, खत्म कर रहे हैं.
क्या खत्म करूं?
You saying something about Joram? which you
अच्छा
discussed?
हाँ. So I तो watched it today only.
Yeah.
You watched it yesterday, day before yesterday, Sanjeet.
Day before the premiere.
Premiere.
Indian premiere.
Yeah.
And Aryan is privileged.
He's privileged.
So no, I mean I think I
Absolutely.
loved or remembered loving Aji. Loving is a very
I loved
to
it.
associate.
I loved it.
Yeah, but like I mean,
I love the ending.
It made me genuinely feel disgusting and uncomfortable, which is a
Yeah.
compliment.
Yeah.
Mostly, I was slightly underwhelmed by
Yeah.
the narrative more than anything else.
And the use of
I loved mostly. I think that's
You're
still my
always
favorite
complaining about the use of like overscoring. I had felt that
In
movie was
Bhosle,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
it's
him
very
scoring.
manipulative.
I
the
don't know.
recurring
I do remember that the sections with Manoj
In the
Bajpayee.
washroom.
No, with I didn't like the parallel narrative with Manoj Bajpayee. The
Yeah.
Manoj Bajpayee section I thought reminded me of Jean Dieleman, which is
uh,
like no music. So I
no,
was
but
like,
then there's the recurring door thingy, na.
I've forgotten.
Whenever his
Actually,
neighbor,
even I've forgotten, but
yeah,
I remember it was very atmospheric,
Yes,
yeah,
it was.
yeah,
and I still think it's much better than for me than Joram. honestly.
Sure.
Oh, really?
For me,
Oh,
because I think
No, Joram has a lot of. Joram, as you said, Aryan, is a genre film.
Yeah.
Like very
Yeah.
much. And you also said it's
Bhosle,
more
I think for
popular.
Bhosle, I felt I was there with him.
Sure.
That was the
Yeah.
thing that really makes me.
I mean,
like-
Aryan is saying the whole best performance thing. I just almost thought that he got sidelined only.
Hmm.
A little
It's-
bit.
he's not sidelined. I think he's part of the whole machinery,
Yes.
which is genre, right?
Yes,
That's
yeah.
why he's never standing out like how he was
And
in
he's
Bhosle.
also remarkably giving a meek performance, right?
Yeah.
He's not
Yeah.
giving a strong.
No, I
Showy
mean,
performance.
yeah. It's not like a performance.
Yeah,
It's like
None
A
of them are
character-
giving. I mean, the villain is, which is deliberate very much so.
Yeah.
A performance, which the weird thing is at times I was reminded of stuff like Dabang and even like more, like just in terms of the
Power
police
and
ka
the powers?
culture, no, the police ka culture in with this Mohammad Zishan
I
Arab
think-
character and like
the section.
with this section with the whole
Is there a lot of other films
and
also?
Article 15 I told you already the whole
But
dynamic.
again-
Shikshan.
Good to mom, yes.
Yeah.
Again, the thing is that I think Joram for me is like a culmination of all the themes that Makija has always been interested by, whether it be
for
of
sure.
power
Yes.
versus powerless,
Yeah.
powerless, or and
Environmental-
especially Maharashtra nationalism, like Maharashtra versus Jharkhand or whatever the
Yes,
politics.
Mumbai
it is-
and
Yeah,
Jharkhand
outsiders
movie,
versus
yeah.
Really
That
like the
I
opening
think
of
that
the film actually. It's a good like summation of what the film is about. The swing.
The swing thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it
fantastic.
first reminded me
Yeah.
of Charulata.
Yeah.
And
I
then I was
think
like,
it was-
it's kind of reversing though,
was-
because in Charulata the camera is in certain different,
Yeah.
and here it's a little different.
So I was like, I mean, it's one of those shots which kind of tells. I think it's too
Yeah.
telling of what will happen in the film,
Hmm.
but it's fine. Like it's really well orchestrated. So I was
Orchestrated, and the way it's kind of sound designed also.
yes.
Kind of leaves you on like an echo and just like
Yeah.
Hmm.
puts you in like, okay,
Yeah.
you're in for the
But
whole show.
it's one of those key opening. I mean, this is not of course different mediums and all that. Right? It's like
Hmm.
opening paragraph. You have to tell everything concisely.
Yeah,
That's your
yeah.
opening
Setup.
shot.
Setup.
So, yeah,
But
ho gaya, like, wo
also,
to-
like chronologically,
Yeah.
at this point of time in Makija's filmmaking career,
Mm.
whereas Bhosle was about the socio-political divide and the Maharashtrian
Conscious was-
Marathi nationalism
Uh-huh.
imposing on this
Mhm.
old retired man's psyche.
Mm.
This one is literally about his physical environment, like those tall skyscrapers
Mhm.
or or towards the second half of the movie,
Trees.
those
Lack of
comparison
trees.
कर दो
Or lack of
कर दो
trees.
कर दो
क्या एंटोनियो नहीं सही नहीं 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 so whereas Bhosle was more about that burdening and dwarfing his psyche. This is more about
Yeah.
the actual environment dwarfing his existence,
Yeah.
which is why he's constantly on the run, right? And in that regard, this
One time I
movie,
thought No Country for whatever, like that
Yeah.
flashed
It
in
have
my
that.
head.
It does have
No
that.
Country for Men or whatever you were thinking
Hmm.
about.
Yeah.
but then it has a lot
It's
of
a good
those,
No Country for Men, to be honest. We've gotten a lot of bad adaptations of that thing last
and
2
also some
years.
rip-offs. Yeah.
Rip-offs, bad adaptations,
Yeah.
both. Both of which Sanjeet. I can at least one of which Sanjeet likes and the other
But aren't you surprised that
Love Hostel.
Hey, come on.
wouldn't you be
Yeah.
surprised if Joram, like I would have seen this win the best
Yeah,
award,
for what?
best audience.
It was gala premiere though.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because it's the Indian premiere, no?
Oh, right. Okay.
No, but you know people like violence or people like porn.
Right.
Or
That's
people
why
like violent porn.
Yeah.
Agra is
Makes sense. Well, like
Yeah,
people are
correct.
going crazy behind, like
Agra.
standing for like 2-3 hours for that film.
For Agra.
Yeah.
But shows all hauseful यार एक भी नहीं मिला ticket.
मेरे को मिला था यार.
Everyone is has a
Yeah.
higher libido.
Oh, by the way, I've been so traumatized by this one experience that I forgot my pass back at my hostel.
That
So
was
I had to
recent.
travel
Yeah,
back and forth. So I have been so scared and traumatized by that
Still
incident that
wears it.
like रात के 3 बजे पे मैं पहन के बैठा हूँ and I'll just sleep with this कल ऐसे इसके साथ ही.
कल 2 बजे उठूंगा तो फिर
कोई किसकी लाइन में लगूंगा पता चलेगा
अरे 2 बजे ही तो थी मूवी.
खत्म हो गई अब तो
मूवी चालू हो गया होगा तब पहुंचूंगा मैं. Yeah, tell me. So this
but
documentary. Okay, speaking of me waking up late, tell me
We
about.
end the episode here.
Okay, let's talk about that on a different.
No, we are talking about it now. We'll release it.
हाँ, but ended अच्छे से यार.
हाँ अच्छे से end तो होगा. But Joram, yeah, that's it.
Joram, I liked, yeah.
I really like. I think people should watch it when it comes out.
There's a lot of there's multiple moments in the film where you have to buy a lot of stuff that happens to reach certain points.
But
No, but like some of it, I was like, ki chalo itna, I'll have to push my that sensibility.
Then
to
again,
go a
it
little
has
bit.
that defense now that it's a genre film. You have to have those.
no, okay. So I think what you're probably talking about is the tire scene, is it?
Where he's yeah.
Oh, हाँ.
Okay.
And
ठीक है,
even-
I can buy what you're
Even some
saying.
of the metaphors with the tire, like the blood stain and all. If I don't know if you guys
Bhul gaya main ye.
remember.
There is a shot there.
Yeah,
there are
I love
shots
that
of-
lingering shot of.
I mean, my thing was
Piyush
like,
Bhutti camera work.
but
Fantastic.
yeah, but actually, I didn't mention. My favorite part, or at least my most fascinating thing with the film, was how I responded differently throughout the film to Mohammad Zishan Ayyub's character.
Oh,
And
I
his
think
story-
Tell
I
about
think
the
it's-
artificial.
So that was the whole thing which I was thinking about. Like, is this like an inverse of Article 15's whole, savior thingy, which sort of is the norm in that, but in
Yeah.
this, he looks so lost all the time. There is
Yeah.
not barely a moment where he looks in control or in like,
Yeah.
I
He
think
always feels like an
looks-
outsider.
he looks very tired and indifferent to this world.
Indifferent तो नहीं लगा यार मुझे, but like he felt
Indifferent neither because I think
he was indifferent till he started. But बाद में है ना, that's why starting.
I feel conscience था, but
Okay.
वो since the powerless वाला thing is
हाँ,
happening,
it's
वो कैसे express
helplessness.
करेगा? हाँ.
Yeah, भाई.
And then when he goes to that place,
Oh,
वो
amazing.
tribals को देख के
Yeah.
तो he has that feeling.
Again, that scene, it's
But he's
extraordinary.
one
You
of
know?
the- like I'm pretty sure it's directed by Makija that way, and he has this really like ease of a presence.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like ease as in like he's a easy presence to
Quiet
watch.
observer. Quiet
और ही
observer.
ऐसा है, इतना अच्छा
I mean,
यार.
I love him, and I wish there was huge sections of him in Article 15. I think some of the portions,
Yeah.
the best portions of it,
I
are
got goosebumps. I think
with
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 his
yeah,
speeches and all. Nah.
he was great in
who's-
Scoop also.
Okay, who's the actress in
He was great
Article
in Scoop.
15?
Opposite.
Yeah, the love interest. Who's the main?
Shiny Gupta.
Shani Gupta. Yes.
Yeah.
So
He was
the-
also there at the screening. Nah.
Of emergency actually.
Oh,
Acha, okay.
yeah.
But yeah, Joram, good film.
Good film.
Good film, well made.
Yeah, good film. One of the best Indian films of the year.
I mean, that might actually not even be
Yeah, but it is. और क्या आया है?
है नहीं।
Yeah.
हिंदी में तो नहीं आया है।
यार मैं thankful हूँ एटलीस्ट कुछ लिस्ट बनाने के लिए मुझे मिलेगा तो
I know.
हिंदी में मुश्किल से मिला लास्ट 3-4 साल
2-3 तो मिल गए आपको आज ही। 12th फेल भी मिल गया।
12th film. चलो, I think this is
it was
the
popcorn
end of the
topic.
episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting us.
Yes.
There's another episode coming right after this for the subsequent days, which is what 6, 7, 8. Is it?
Yeah, days
6,
6
7,
to 8.
6 to 8 finale.
Mhm.
Please share it with friends. It helps us reach out to more people. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Spotify.
Yes.
And write us a review if you find us on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Dhruv on his Instagram page
Write
at
good reviews for us. Yeah.
Terminus. Please write good reviews.
Yeah.
You can follow Aryan on his Instagram page at Aryan
You
Talks
can
Films.
write bad reviews also. But you can tell us please what bad reviews
Feedback.
you're writing. Yes.
Yeah, feedback is important.
That
so
is the thing we want.
so that we can improve more.
Yes.
And keep up for more updates on the documentary that we are shooting. It's called 10 Days at MAMI.
Yeah, joke डालना ही
Yeah.
था ना।
And you can follow me on pixel_baba. Please
Yeah.
follow us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening.
खत्म।
Khatam.
भी क्या करना है?
Pause.
Beep.
कहाँ है?
भाई it's 3:30.